This video is a part of the Vegan Study Report series, and if you haven't seen part 1 of the series, then please use the QR code or the link in the description to proceed and watch it, because there you will find the study overview, methodology, and several important parameters that we've already looked into, the parameters that were associated with vegan experiences of our respondents. And in this video, we will be looking into relationship between personal and family life and veganism. And now let's actually look at the data. This diagram shows our personal life dynamics with respect to the diet or lifestyle. Before veganism, as early vegan, midterm vegan, end-stage vegan, and in the ex-vegan stages of life of our participants. On the y-axis, I put number of participants, and color-coded here are that diet and lifestyle had no influence on personal life, diet or lifestyle improved personal life, enabled personal life, made it worse, or destroyed it. So if you briefly look at this diagram, blue and red colors represent generally negative trends in personal life, and yellow and green represent positive dynamics in personal life with changing lifestyle. Gray, no influence, so it's neutral. And from even brief evaluation of this plot, we may see that veganism was progressively making personal life of our participants worse. And as the time of veganism progressed, we see even more people reporting that veganism destroyed their personal life, compounding to 20% of the participants. Then what we see also is that a drastic improvement in personal life was observed after quitting veganism in most respondents. So this trend, if we try to speculate about it or try to explain it, can have multiple reasons for happening. First of all, if we look at the moment of switching to veganism, we see that coming to veganism actually had a poor effect on personal life of the participants. By personal life, we consider intimate life, the relationships like tete-a-tete, or basically relationships with some significant other, some partnership with one person. Or also maybe with yourself. Personal life suffered, and the reasons for that could be that there could be a mismatch in interests, a mismatch in values. A lot of the participants of this study, as you will see later in this series of videos, you will see that most of the study participants were vegan for ethical reasons. And if you review any video on vegan dating, you will see that it's a catastrophic thing. I myself, when I was raw vegan, it was a very hot topic. And since I have been in a very long-term relationship by now, switching lifestyles, I kind of talked about it, and I was requested to talk about it by many people. This area of life was never a point of contention to me. But for many people, it is, because they are much stronger into the ethical, moral facet of veganism. So this, of course, can become a very critical point of tension in relationships as well. Finding a partner becomes far more challenging. Being in existing relationships, if your partner is not on board with you when you go vegan, can make it challenging. If you were forced into veganism by your partner against your intrinsic will, it also may make your relationships worse, because you feel like the person may owe you something, or again, it's never good when you're forced into something. So this trend can be explained by those factors. But then if we look at the end-stage veganism, and end-stage veganism is when people already have everything falling apart from this extremely destructive lifestyle, this worsening of personal life is likely due to worsening health, because if you go depressed, if you lose your libido, if you lose your interest in life in general, if you have some health problems that make you completely distracted from anything that adds to pleasure in our life, and you have to focus on survival only, or when you are totally rid of powers to survive, even to take care of yourself at that point, then what personal life successes can we even talk about at this point? So this data is not surprising, but against my speculations, we will see later if this correlates with health and psychological outcomes. And then, of course, I'm very happy to see that people bounced back. We'll also see that coming off veganism worsened relationships, personal life, for one participant. And we see that for one participant, their personal life was enabled. And we also can see that the switching to veganism improved personal life for a couple of people as well. You can see from this data that it was not so one sided after all. Some people actually experienced some improvements by going vegan. If I was to respond to this question, I would say that veganism had no influence on my personal life when I just switched to it. And then probably by the end stage veganism, it made it worse. But then it improved in some areas. Again, fundamentally, it did not reflect on my relationships whatsoever. There were only some facets, again, that made me less capable to engage in personal life activities, so to speak, because again, my mind was fully focused on survival, making personal life very low in the priority list. Now I separated family life from personal life because family life includes also children, your parents, grandparents, whatever significant figures belonging to your family are, not just your partner. And here we may have tension around veganism arising especially among young people. And we know from part one that most of our respondents went vegan when they were very young, which means that they likely shared the same household with their parents. So when we see that the diet made their family life worse, early in veganism, it might be because they were sharing household and had to navigate some complex relationships around food, around ethics with their parents. This is also speculation, but again, judging by the entry age of our participants in some interviews, I can see it being quite possible. If you're a participant of the study, please write down your story if you had this happen to you. And also, of course, there are children involved. And then, interestingly, as we see that personal life was getting progressively worse overall, we see kind of that the trend with family life, it was pretty steady throughout veganism. We see that family life was destroyed for a few people, and it was also reflected in a couple of interviews. So maybe there is something, some drama. Please feel free to share it in the comments if you wish to. But then what we see another flip happens in ex-vegan phase when people experience overall improvement. But then for some people that made it worse, it also may be the consequence of some mismatch with your spouse, with your parents, with your kids, or kid management as well. For example, if we look at the ex-vegan or vegan Reddit, there is a huge section where people share their stories, how they try to navigate managing their kids' diet. Their partner is vegan, they themselves are not, or vice versa, and they don't understand how to manage what their child should be. This is a huge thing as well. I'm not sure if my participants faced this situation and whether it influenced these responses that diet made family life worse after they quit veganism. Maybe that's the reason for these data points, but share in the comments again. And then diet enabled it for some person. Congratulations. This is a very positive trend. And I also wanted to see if end-stage veganism personal life experiences are in any correlation with the duration of veganism. Because we see here on this graph, there was some devastating effect of veganism that occurred in many respondents towards the end-stage veganism. So I wanted to see if there is any relationship here. And I plotted the scattered dots, number of years each participant, each respondent who picked each option, such as diet had no influence on personal life, diet made personal life worse, diet destroyed personal life, and diet improved personal life. I just put the number of years that each respondent was on a vegan diet for. And so what we can see here is that the person who was vegan the longest had no effect of veganism on their personal life whatsoever. And if we look at the respondents for whom diet destroyed their personal life, we can see that they are participants who are generally relatively long-term vegans as well. So over 5 years of vegan term. And then worsening of personal life experiences due to veganism was observed across broad range of lengths of veganism, including ultra long-term vegans as well, which also may indicate specifically the health-related issues, I would say, because by that time, I think all sociocultural conflicts could have been resolved. And then we see that for some person, there was an improvement in personal life as well towards the end stage veganism. We also see that the person who was on the vegan diet the smallest amount of time experienced the destruction of personal life. So if you're watching this video now, please let me know what happened there. I decided to see if there is any correlation between early veganism family life changes and the age of becoming vegan. So what I wanted to see if worsening of family life as a result of switching to veganism was in some way related to the age of our participants, age of becoming vegan specifically. So here I plotted all the data, so age of becoming vegan, and I just plotted scattered data for respondents for whom diet switching to veganism made their family life worse, then for whom switching to veganism had no influence on their family life, and for whom diet or switching to veganism improved their family life. And here I zoomed in on the early ages specifically. What we can see is that most people who switched to veganism as early adults and teenagers, they experienced difficulties with their family life shortly after switching. So they experienced worsening in relationships with their family. Only for two participants, switching to veganism had no impact on their family life. And other than that, we see that there's pretty scattered data here. But yeah, this proves the hypothesis that indeed, for people who were dependents when they switched to veganism, this switching to veganism was indeed, but likely, the root cause of some problems inside of the family. Then another thing that I wanted to study was if there was a relationship between the reasons for going vegan among our participants and the changes in personal life due to switching to veganism. And here I plotted number of participants who went vegan for animals only, then for who went vegan for health only, and then those who went vegan for animals and an array of other reasons. So this is the list of reasons that participants could choose from. They could choose multiple options. So yeah, we have animals, environment, health, spiritual life, to lose weight, and because of the influence of their partner, friend, or family member. And here we have split for those who went vegan for animals only. So strictly ethical people, strictly ethical vegans. When they switched to veganism, we observed that for one participant, the switch made their personal life worse, and for another person, diet or switching to veganism had no influence on their personal life. The same story we observed for a person who went vegan for health only. And then among people who went vegan for animals and other reasons combined, we see that most people experienced either worsening of their personal life due to switching to veganism or no change at all. Then a couple of people experienced an improvement, and for one person, switching to veganism destroyed their personal life.